Hey everybody, Ben here. Thanks for being here. Thanks for showing up for yourself each and every day. So if you're from the short, you already have a backstory. If not, the word was cut. Looking at cutting something out of our life, whether internal, a belief, a view, or person, place, or thing, people, place, or thing, in the external. And uh, right before I switched from the short to this, I was feeling kind of like a depressed feeling of almost like let down, uh, defeated, I think is a better way to say it. Supporting angel number card, shed the old. We also have letting go of limiting beliefs, emerging, beginning anew, light work, refocus, ascend. Again, like I said, this could be in the external, people, place, or thing, but also internal in this defeated energy of, obviously, whatever it is limiting us somehow. Whether in the external or in the internal, it grabs a hold of us. And there was something else coming through before I think I even started this, and it was focusing on, uh, you know, how we, or maybe I said it in the short, sorry, trying to put everything together here, how we uh, might have these more negative thought patterns, which are more or less, limiting beliefs, things that are holding us back internally from being who we are, and we find safety in it. If we're looking at our shadow and we're just going to call that the aspects that are less than, that don't lift us up so much, that might lead us to act certain ways. When we're protecting those, we think it's a safe behavior, or it's protecting us. It's protecting that wound, however it is. And by doing certain things, or getting in certain relationships or certain jobs or whatever situations to protect that aspect that is actually holding us back, it's kind of a difficult thing to get into sometimes, because we think we're doing the right thing by keeping it alive, by keeping it safe, when really it's limiting us somehow. And that could also look at, almost self-sabotage at effect, but not so drastic as that word comes off, because logically or in our emotions we think we're protecting something, we're keeping us safe, when really this aspect, and I keep looking at it like it's off here to the side, because it's not really in here. It feels like it is, but it's off to the side, and it's almost like that little the two little angels on your shoulder, and it's off to the right. I'm gonna connect here, see if we see anything. It might be a little loud, so you may want to turn your volume down. If it resonates, feel free to like or comment. If it doesn't, don't make it fit. I was immediately drawn uh, to a road. It had two yellow lines in the middle, and the way I was viewing it, I would have been, if I'm viewing it this way, I would have been in the right lane. But then, I was large, like picture me standing physically in the road, but then I got shrunk down into the middle of the two yellow lines, and I was very small. And now it's giving off the idea of uh, how small the true the true self is, experiencing this experience versus the larger self. And the larger self is more or less this limiting actions, behaviors, we'll call that the shadow. How much that one's living in the experience, or guiding, or in charge, driving, versus right here in the middle, very small, and in the aspect of uh, it has this the discernment, or the ability to view both sides and choose. It is in the middle. It is not dictated to either lane, if we will, or either direction. And when we really think about that, if we were in a space that we could take all of our shadow aspects, whether we're all aware of them or we're not aware of all of them or aware of some of them, and we really look back in our life and see how that one was in charge, that aspect, that wound, that trauma, that negative self-image or confidence is always in charge, is always driving, is always going this direction. And maybe we have had experiences when we can look at the little self, which is not little, it is the true self, but how little it probably is or has been experienced in our waking experience, here. How often did that part come out, and how quickly did this one shut it down? How quickly did it step on dreams or hopes or desires, or I'm gonna talk to this person because I like them, or I'm gonna say my opinion or voice my opinion, or I'm gonna go down this path because it would really fulfill me. How quickly did this one squash that or knock that away? And a lot of us could probably say that's true. It is the guiding force, this control over our true experience. And getting out of that is, I'm starting to have some feeling here in the center, our heart. How often is that taken away because of these beliefs, these thoughts, these views? And when we really think about it, uh, we pick these up along the way, and this is the true self trying to come out, but it's constantly being squashed. How can we change the roles? How can we move towards, that maybe we need to pay more attention to the subtle feelings? We're talking about small little old me here in the middle of the road, and instead we have this loud, strong, controlling experience off to the right, always saying we're going this way, or we're going to do this or that, versus paying attention to the subtleties of, direction or guidance. The world, achievement. Naturally, this is a cycle closing out. Maybe we have triumphed above this, or we're starting to just see this, how much this is uh, getting in our ear and taking control and taking direction, and paying more attention to these subtle experiences. As I said, little old me over here, and it wants to be here, and how quickly this comes in to maybe try to shut that down or redirect us. Or, we could also look at getting control of that in general if we haven't yet, and that being a massive achievement. How often could we say people pay attention to that or notice that or bring that into part of their decision making or their waking life, every aspect, that start to think this way or feel this way, and where's this coming from? Who's this over here? Uh, and it has, or it will lead to the Ten of Pentacles. This is, sure, Pentacles are a matter and material, but when we really get into a place of letting, I'm just going to keep calling it little old me, this little aspect, which it's huge, but yet, like I said, sometimes this shadow is who is us in our mind. This is who's always controlling us. This is making decisions for us. And getting to allow little old me to make these decisions or guide and breathe, stretch their legs. Naturally in here, everything else then reflects out, and we experience this, in our external, and it leads to all these things, and not just money. Like it's this uh, fulfillment. I was drawn to go back to here, through shedding the old. The Empress, nurturing soul, not just in a place of self, but when we, this is like giving the feeling of when we truly get to that place. Uh, sure, we can all be empathic and uh, plead with others' emotional places and lend a helping hand and be very caring, but when we're not fully there for ourselves, we're it's kind of working against us. We're like depleting ourselves by giving so much, and we're not in a good place to begin with. But once we are, and we reflect that, it is naturally a huge ripple effect, and it is uh, so more potent than just on the surface level, emanating everywhere, every aspect of our life. Now, the moon reversed, suppression. We can, how I started this off can be viewed as uh, shutting the shadow down, or neglecting it, or pretending it doesn't exist. And that's not really true. It is uh, viewing it, seeing that, yes, it's here. It is here, and it has made a lot of decisions for us, or knocked us down a lot. But seeing why, digging in there a bit, and saying, okay, I do say this often, the external created these feelings that I carry inside, whether I'm not good enough, whether in the physical, our actions, our behaviors, or just in self, not feeling worthy, uh, our self expression, our confidence, and then, all into carrying the past experiences and a lot of fear and lack mentality. If I was alone and I just came to my experience, my life, and let's say I was in a tundra or a desert and I never saw another human before, and I was content. Maybe there was animals around and they were my friends, and we just went through the motions and we survived. It wasn't difficult. We just experienced life. There wouldn't have never been that external experiences or reassurances or anything that would have came in to my space, if we will, and made me feel certain ways. I wouldn't have experienced anything. I wouldn't have experienced money. I wouldn't have experienced lack, love, in a way that it's abused or taken away from me or manipulated. None of this. Maybe the animals would have been a little crooked here and there. I don't know. But we'll pretend not here. If I never experienced those things, uh, I wouldn't have had those feelings that would have created this aspect of abandonment or dependency on things. And then why would I go back to the external to fix them? It's normally my saying, if the external created them, why do I go back to the external to fix them? As in, for validation, approval, proof, all these things. And then led me to, suppress all these things, not really view them in a way that this isn't me. This is this big old me over here on this side of the road, and that's who I see me as. When really little old me is who I really am, but we never get to see him. The shadow over here casts a shadow on little old me. We don't even see it. We're probably driving so fast we don't acknowledge it. It doesn't exist to us. This is who I am. And really changing the roles here. Going back to the idea to know that this is who I am down here. This is just casting a shadow of everything that I picked up along the way. And starting to shed that down to starting to have a lot of pain in my solar plexus and sacral. We're looking at creativity in general, self-esteem, and confidence. Uh, that's those are all pretty big things that are knocked down, by our shadow experience. Trying to build that back up, and like I said, the external would have created this somehow through our experiences. And if we go back to it for validation or proof that, hey, I have this now, it's kind of like a double-edged sword if we really think about it. You know, These are the folks, or the energy in general, that wounded or created these wounds or these lack mentalities. And by me going back to it for proof or validation that I have changed, it's it's the same abuser that created it. So we really have to generate this in self. And at times we can look at that as it may come off, well, what's it, full of ourselves or arrogant, and it gets knocked down even more. But I'm not saying presenting it that way. It is rebuilding all of this inside of a total different view. Don't view it as that way. View it as, hey, this is a wound. This hurt, or this is limiting me by believing this or thinking this way because of X, Y, or Z. And I'm gonna change that. Six of Cups, nostalgia. We can just look at this in the general sense of looking back on the past and who we were and the experiences we had. But getting out of a place of victimhood is needed to move forward with this. And when we really think about it, if you want to have a conversation with someone, bring up something that they can bitch about, because that's going to validate their experience because they're still stewing on it or dwelling on it. When we encompass all of our experiences through who did what to me or negativity aspects, and we give somebody a way to express that, they get to validate their experience. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but when we really think about it, it's just showing how much we're hanging on to the past, where everything is being done onto me, versus coming to this place of, I'm going to take control of this. This shadow, this guy over here that's driving, isn't anymore. I'm going to allow this guy, this little old me here, to grow, to stand up, and to get as big as the shadow, to be an equal player here, to be able to look each other in the eye and see who's who and what's really going on here. Probably just get a closing card here. Ace of Swords reversed. Clouded Judgment. This will be a bit of a constant push and pull. Like I said, sometimes we protect this over here to keep us safe, to make us feel safe. And that's the whole game, It's a bit of a mind game of what is real. As much as I held on to this, this belief or this behavior, it has kept me, it's gotten me here, to actually be able to let go of that is like surrendering in a way that is removing our control. And like I said, it can be a bit self-destructive at times or sabotage because we think it's good for us and it's protecting us, but really it's doing more damage or limiting us than we really know. And it's going to go against how we've been living our past, however long we've been here or however long it's been affecting us. And getting out of that shell and starting to focus more on little old me, to grow, to be seen, to be viewed, to make decisions, versus this big guy over here that has been a bit rammy and has always got his way, my way or the highway type of deal. There's going to be a good bit of resistance there, but take time and really think about it. If you got to write stuff down to make it, to get it out of your mind a bit more, to really view it on paper, whatever it is, talk to people that would support you through this experience, and actually viewing things for what they are is going to give you more clarity. Call on your spirit team, whatever you're interested in. And I want to say congratulations, because when we really think about it, we're leaving and we're getting this huge amount of self-empowerment back and coming into who we truly always were. So I'll leave it there. If this resonated, feel free to like, comment, share, or subscribe. and I will talk to y'all later.